Hi, welcome back to a brand new coffee tech break with Jan. Good to see you back on my channel again. Today I think I got another great video for you lined up because I want to take you through the setup and installation of the brand new Studio V12. So if you haven't seen the unboxing yet, I would say check out part 1 of this video. So here I'm running through all the I/O and the different features and functions. The Studio V12 meant to be for your small meeting room, but really powerful. It hosts a really nice 4K camera here under the hood, so you gotta be impressed with quality. Now, in this video, this is part 2, and I specifically want to walk you through the onboarding. So what happens when you hook it up? And you got the Lens desktop app, which I can run here on my PC, but also you got a Lens room app. So let's say you want to hook this up to a Teams room or to a room. So how does this look like? How do you manage this centrally, for example, from PolyLens? So I will walk you through all the features and functions of this device, and hopefully you enjoy it. If you got any questions or comments, I would just say put them in the comments, and of course I will always try to answer them as good as possible. Now let's get started with the Studio V12 and hook it up here to my PC. So you got a little bit of an idea of the onboarding, and the first part will be the Lens desktop app, which I'm running here on my PC. So first we hook it up. I have here a power supply, of course USB-C power supply, 65 watts, similar you have for your laptop. So you got your USB-C connector, and we're gonna put that here underneath the V12. The other option is a PoE++. So if you switch to support that, you can directly connect it to your network, or you can use a PoE++ power injector. So these two power options are available with the V12. There's no power supply coming along with the V12, so keep that in mind. The other thing we need is, of course, a USB-C cable. So there is a USB-C cable coming along, 1.8 meters long, to hook it up to your Teams room PC or to your Zoom room PC, which will be behind the screen. Similar with your V12, will be on top of your screen or under your screen, so that should be sufficient. If you're gonna use it as a BYOD device, you need longer cables, then you need to check out in the comments where I've put in several options. You can go to fiber, or you can use different third-party devices to make sure you can reach the tape. I got everything ready now, power supply and the USB-C cable. Let's hook it up and jump in my PC to walk you through the wizard and through all the features and functions of the Studio V12. Here you go. Welcome into my demonstration room. So I connected the power, USB-C power, to the V12. On the other side I connected the USB-C cable here to my laptop. So I can walk you here step by step through the setup of the Studio V12. Now the first thing is, when you connect it, as we will see, it will show up here in the list with your other devices, other webcams, headsets, speakerphones, etc. Anything supported with the Lens desktop app will show up here. Now it will ask you for a password. So in the past this was fixed, but with the release of the V12 you now have the password, which is related to the serial number. So the last 6 digits of the serial number is the out of factory password. Of course change it, but at least to get started in the device we need to punch in the last 6 digits. So let me grab that. Alright, here we go. So we punched in here the last digits of the serial number, which can be found underneath the Studio V12. We go here to login. So this will start now the out-of-box experience with the device. Now you can import a configuration if you want to. So if you got a previous configuration, you exported it maybe for a fixed demonstration or something, you could import it, or you can begin your setup. Now, in the setup, you walk through all the different features and functions. So first we select the country. Oh, I am still here in the Netherlands. We give it a name. So let's give it Studio V12. And of course, with some coffee. Then we put in the password. Now, in this case, as it is a demonstration, I will do a weak password to make life easy. And then we click underneath, we click on next. Now we come to the step where we put in, or we could hook it up through the Wi-Fi, but we can also do that later on. So if we click on the Wi-Fi, it will do a search here in the environment, and then it will give you a list of to connect to the different Wi-Fi network. Now, I won't do that now, but I will show you that a bit later. We can also hook it up to the wired network. That's a big difference comparing to the Studio USB. We can do that through the HTTP or through a static IP address. So that is all available in that out-of-box wizard. Now, we skip this for now, and here we go. The Studio V12 is now set up. We click on Finish. So now we can go to the other settings. So first off, the overview, as you've seen. Then we can go to Controls now. And by going to the Controls, you can find here your favorites. So let's say you got different favorites looking at the settings, and the settings you're going to make here, maybe for a home office or for a specific room. Maybe you move the device to different rooms, then you can create different favorites. And you can do this all here through the Lens Desktop app. Now, if we go a little bit down, we see here the white balance. We can, of course, flip the image. So in case you want to mount it under the screen upside down, that means that the cables will go behind the screen. Then we can also mirror the image. There's tracking, director AI tracking functionality in the camera. So we can go here for group framing, we can go for speaker framing, or we can go for people framing. Now, group framing, as you probably know by now, that is make sure that the group is all in the picture, so that people going into the room or joining into the room, that the camera will automatically adjust to the participants who are in the room. The speaker framing is gonna speak up, and the camera will automatically zoom into the speaker and make that as natural as possible. And we got people framing. With people framing is putting up all the different blocks, like 6 blocks, 6 participants in the room, for example. It will put everybody in a different block, in a different video frame, and that's also a very nice one. So these are all available in the Studio V12. Now, there is another option here, and that is polyperimeter. So probably people know that also from the Studio X side. If you enable that, you can configure a specific area where you want to do the tracking. So I can punch here in meters and change, for example, the exact width in meters of the tracking area. So let's say you got here, for example, windows, and people are standing behind those windows with a cup of coffee, because usually they're gonna be walking in the hallway, but maybe they stand still at some moments to talk to colleagues. Then the framing could interfere with that in those rooms. So now with the polyperimeter, you can set the frame of the room, so the depth, the front and the width, and that makes sure that you can apply, so that area on the table, that's where the tracking should happen. You can do that in meters or in feet. And so that is available out of the box with the Studio V12. These were the control settings, so just out of the box settings to make those adjustments. And this is now set specifically on the Lens Desktop app, but of course can also be done through the cloud and Sentry. Now let's go to the settings. Now to go into the admin settings, you punch in already that password, but as I've already done that, I can go in here now, but that password will be sure to be used with the admin. Here you can turn on, for example, the Wi-Fi. So if you want to hook it up to a Wi-Fi network, you here turn it on. You wait a little bit, so you can search your networks. Then we select here. Let's say I select here a network. Then we punch in a password. Alright, so as soon as you punch in the password, you can go to, let's say you want to do auto connect, you can enable that and show some advanced features. So here you can turn on DHCP or using a static password. Well, we leave it to DHCP for now. We click on join and now we'll join the Michael Jackson network. And we are able to find this also now through the network in the Microsoft Cloud. So really nice one. So I can really unplug my laptop and manage it centrally now using cloud. I think for the BYOD scenario, this is a very nice one. If I can go back now to overview, what you will see is that the device has an internal IP address now from the Wi-Fi network. So you immediately are able to see if it has joined that network. Now, I will show you a bit later how that looks in the Lens Cloud, but now we got the devices available there as it joined that network. Now we can do the same thing to LAN. So if you got PoE++, you can even combine that. So here you can also find the settings DHCP or a static IP address. Now there's Bluetooth in the device. That is if you're gonna want to make the combination with a Bluetooth remote. So there is an option here to pair a Bluetooth remote in case you're going to use it as a BYOD. Of course, then you only have the cable there then to the laptop. So in that case, there could be an additional Bluetooth remote, so you can do volume up and down, you can do the mute, you can do tracking on and off, etc. Now, there's another option here, disable USB-A ports. That's an interesting one. So in case you hook it up, for example, to a Teams Room device, you put it on top of your screen, maybe you want to disable USB-A ports. So you don't want to have any people like connecting up a keyboard to the V12 or anything else. So to avoid that, you can disable them. In an executive office or something, and the executive gonna use this on his screen in combination with the laptop and maybe combination with extra devices like a keyboard or a mouse. In that case, it could be handy to enable the USB-A ports, because of course the V12 will take a port on the laptop, and in this case you are giving back two USB-A ports which you're able to use. So there's a sort of hub, sort of USB hub inside the V12, and as I said, you can turn that on and off per scenario you want to use it. Now, if you want to change the password, you can do that. And you always have the option here to change a password of the device. Now here it comes to the provisioning. So the provisioning can be done automatically. So if you arrange this through the DHCP, and I'm gonna make sure that I will put a reference to how you configure that in the comments. So you will have the DHCP option available, then it will boot up, it will join the Wi-Fi network, and it will automatically join PolyLens, or you can do it manually. So then you need to go into your tenant, into your Lens tenant, and enable it. I won't do that now, but I will do that after I've walked you through all the settings. I'm gonna be joining the provisioning server this way and show you that. Now, the next step is configuration. So as you showed you earlier, if you do maybe specific demonstrations with some certain settings, you can export the settings and then factory reset it. And after that, you can always import those specific settings. So that is possible here through configuration. Then we got NTP. So NTP is the timing server, which is critical if you're gonna work with certificates, etc. So this all belongs together. And now we got restart device. Of course, you always have the option, if there is some immediately actions needed to restart it, it doesn't behave as normal, you can always restart. Restore defaults, again, if there are some things not functioning properly, you can always restore defaults to make sure that the devices are to factory again. Then we got under general, we got participant count. So participant count, participants in the room, if you're gonna work with the Teams room or Zoom room devices. We got here the 50 or the 60 Hz to make it compliant with your the lightning in the room. Then we got looking at the audio. So there's also Acoustic Fence. So we got that video fence, that parameter AI, but we also have Acoustic Fence. You turn on that to make sure you can block also specific sounds there. And so that's, I think, also a very, very nice one. Here you can set the sensitivity. So make sure that how far you want to do that. If you want to specifically want to have the audio from the table, I think this is a really nice one. Then you put the fence specifically on the table, and that will, yeah, just filter all the noise out. For example, if you got a coffee machine or something, or anything outside that room, or standing on the edge of that room, you're able to filter it out. And here you can set the sensitivity. And the higher the sensitivity, the wider the beam. So the higher, the wider the beam is. If you're going to do this closer, the beam will become closer. And so you put it more tight to the table. And this really works really nice. So if you're gonna try that out, I would just say try that out, and you will see that the Acoustic Fence is really powerful with those beaming mics in the V12. Then we got NoiseblockAI, and this is the way to filter out noise from the room. Let's say air conditioning, let's say like windows open with cars outside or anything. So we have by default NoiseblockAI version 2. So I would say just try that for your meeting rooms to see if that works properly. Then we can set the bass. Well, personally, I always like to set the bass a little bit higher and to give a little bit more lower volume in the room. You can play with the treble if you want to give some more to the lower side. The volume, output volume, and then we got, as the last one, we got the on-screen display, we got diagnostic. So if you need to troubleshoot something, you can turn this on, and then you're able to see some troubleshooting information on the camera. So these are the settings. Really, really nice. Support. On the support side, we got here the quick start guide, we got the user guide, we can get device info. So if you are troubleshooting things, here you can download the logs, you can upload custom software and find all the details here of the device, the MAC address, serial number for support, IP address, if it's hooked up correctly to your lens environment. So really nice. This is the troubleshooting side. And we got, of course, contact support. So here you can check also a lot of that information the last time when it connected, also software version, serial number, etc. So that gives you an overview of all the features and functions in Studio V12 using the Lens desktop app. Now what I want to do now is hook it up to PolyLens and actually show you how that looks like. It's really easy. So where you need to go is to that provisioning server. As I said, if you got it auto through DHCP, that's the nicest one. But if you don't have that, you need to go to menu. So now you need to go to your lens side, the cloud side, and find your provisioning information. So let me go there now. Here we are now in the PolyLens cloud environment. So here we need to check out those provisioning details. So we go here to the Coffee Tech. Then we go to the account settings there. Then we go to device provisioning. And here we need to copy and paste this information now into my Lens desktop app. Here the server type to basic server, and we click on apply. So now the information, the configuration is successfully saved. So now my Studio V12 should be registered using the Wi-Fi to my Lens desktop environment. So let's go back into the cloud environment. What you will see is that the provisioning is active and the Studio V12 is now offline. It will just take a little bit of time before it comes online. After around a minute or so, you should see that the V12 is now online and that the device is provisioned. So everything is ready to centrally manage the device. You can also retrieve a system status. So if you don't show here anything, you can retrieve that here by doing a refresh. You can see that the LAN is not connected because we're using now the Wi-Fi. Now, what I recommend is to create a model policy. A model policy means as soon as the device is onboarded in Lens, it will take that model policy as a model. So you can do that by going to the policies, And here you can see the specific order. And so you got here the model policy under account. You can do that group and create a group for specific locations with a specific policy. You can do that on a site level, that was more based on IP address. Device user group is for headsets, specific groups, and you got individual settings. So now the top one has the highest priority. So if you do it on this level, number one means this will be and overrule any other settings that you do here below. So the model policy, you can do that under account. You go to device models, and if the device has been onboarded in the past, it will show you right here. Is it not been onboarded, you can go to add and add a specific model policy. So now for the V12, there is a model policy available which I can adjust. What I've done is, for example, I created an update window. So I don't want to do an update during the day. I want to do that in the midnight. And so I've created an update window, so it will only at midnight happen. In case of the BYOD scenario, I'm gonna walk in, gonna hook it up to your laptop. You don't want to see any updates happening there because you want to use the device. The provisioning settings are here all by default, and I can then create a model policy also for frame group, and maybe that is my preferred framing option. You can change that right here. Maybe for your factor, your zoom factor, which can be up to 5 with the V12. I usually recommend to use it up to 3 because it is a digital zoom. But I would just say just try it out in your own environment and see what works best. Also for network, you can find some settings, etc. So this is the model policy. Now, if we can go back now to the device, and on the device itself, you can also do the same policies, but this will overrule anything you will do on the model policy. And so what do we see here? All the information of the device app. We go here to the settings. Same thing we got here, and you can see it inherits it from the model policy, Studio V12. Also the software update, giving it an update window, it inherits it from the model policy. That's, I think, a really nice one. You can find that under my settings. Now, again, you can overrule that here. Audio settings, you can also turn on acoustic fence. You can transmission gain, so you can amplify the microphone if needed. Change the master volume. You can change the bass, which I usually set to 2. So you gave it a little bit more bass there. Let me apply that so I can show you on the endpoint what is happening there. And the video input side, you can change here the frame group. So I can change that to, for example, people framing to make sure that everybody is in the frame. Now we can go to network, find some information there. We can go to the general. You can turn the Bluetooth for the remote on or off. And of course, software settings with the update window frame for the midnight. Really nice. So you got here all the settings together, specifically locally on the device. So that was just a quick overview of the Lens desktop app. Back at the Lens desktop app, so as I showed you, I changed the framing of the camera meanwhile. So as you see, it changed it now to people framing. And the other option which I changed was under audio, I set the bass a little bit higher. As you see, it changed now to 2. So the device is now fully managed through the cloud. Now this was the first use case where you just use it as a BYOD device. You can hook it up standalone using the Wi-Fi or the network app, put it in your laptop, etc. as a BYOD camera, speaker and mic for your room. The other use case which I want to show you now is connecting the V12 to your Teams Room PC or to your Zoom Room PC. So then we have the Lens Room application running on those devices, which will fully manage the USB peripherals and which are hooked up to those devices. Now, let me show you how that looks like. Use case. So now we've connected the Studio V12 to a Teams Room PC, which also can be a Zoom Room PC. By default, the Teams Room PC and Zoom Room PC have the Lens Room app installed. So not the Lens desktop app, but the Lens Room app. Now, the onboarding of the Lens Room app, I've showed you that in another video. So I will make sure I will put a link right there. if you have that installed, you will get several options. So you get it onboarded. So every USB device which is connected to your Teams Room PC will be shown up in the PolyLens cloud. So you can do management, change settings, you can do software updates, etc., and have some policies around it. Now, and also it will offer camera controls. This is all combined. So as an end user, you see here now, the left side, this is the TV screen. Just as a quick impression, on the right side you see what the experience is on the touch panel at the table. Now there is a new button, and by default set that the Lens Room app is installed on those Teams Room PCs. You will see here the button Room Controls. Now I've hooked up the V12, and what you immediately will see is that the V12 is detected by the Teams Room PC, fully certified, and here as an end user I can change tracking settings before the meeting. You can also do it during, but I will show you that in a bit. So you can change tracking settings. I can turn the tracking off. So here you can do manual PTZ, create some presets. That is all available here for the end user to change. Now, same thing is during meeting. So if I set up a quick meeting and during the meeting I want to change from group tracking to speaker tracking, I can do that by going to the touch panel again. You go to the three dots, and here you got the same option, Room Controls. So I can click on that, you get to the same interface where I'm able to change it. If you got multiple cameras connected, you're able to switch also between them. So then you can go here, you got a drop down menu, and you can change to different cameras to change some of those settings. I think a really nice one. Now, underwater, as I said, you got the Lens Room app installed. So let me jump now into the Windows administration settings and show you where you can find this app. Now here we are in the administration settings of the Teams Room PC. If you want to check if the Lens Room app is installed, maybe you don't see the camera controls. Now I would say just check here under the application. It could be pinned right here as the Poly Lens Room, or you go to all applications, you go all the way down, and then you also should be able to find the Poly Lens Room. Now, if you then start this application, you're also able to find if it's onboarded. Is it onboarded to a specific tenant? Now, here it says with success, so it is already onboarded there. And as I showed you, I will put some videos in the description. So if you haven't done this, it's very easy to onboard using the PIN. Then you can go to the settings. Under account, you can check to which tenant is onboarded there based on the tenant ID. Under settings, you can check if your camera controls are on and off. So if it doesn't show camera controls, it could be that the camera control functionality is not being made available. So check that there. And then we can check the language, default English today. Then we can check software versions, about the onboarding status, just some basic information. But you should be able to find this application running on your Teams Room PC. And this concludes the use cases for your V12. As I said, I think the onboarding is really easy. In summary, you can connect this to your laptop, just doing some settings, standalone if you got one unit using the Lens desktop app, or maybe in your personal, in your executive office. I think also really nice device. Hook it up to your PC, you're able to use it. You got also some additional ports if needed, because it will use some of the ports on your laptop. In this case, you can create additional ports. And the other use case, as I showed you, you hook it up to your Teams Room PC, or to your Zoom Room PC. You can onboard it using Lens Room app. You get camera controls available. So that's a mixture of all features and functions, which are all walked through in this video. Now, hopefully you enjoyed it. I think this concludes the quick setup and install of the Studio V12. If you got any questions or comments, I would say just put them on the video. We'll try to answer them as good as possible. Also, any reference, documentation or something, things I'm talking about, I will put them in the description. So make sure you always check out those descriptions of the videos where you can find a lot of information. And that's it for today. Again, I think I've done this within 1 or 2 coffees, so I think I'm on the right track with doing videos and make them as short as possible, or just divide them up into different video parts. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'm already looking forward to see you back in the next video.